Hey, Jackhole, spoiler alert.
It's a rock and a hard place situation. This season they built Marie up to Homelander power levels, so if they use her to defeat him, she takes the win away from these OG characters in their final season, which sucks. If they don't use her, it renders this entire season of Gen V completely disposable, which also sucks. Well, would you look at that?
I told you, you should have hired the monkey.
When you're reviewing a piece of media, I think you should always try to judge it for what it is, not for what you wanted it to be, and this has never been more relevant to me than right now with the release of the final season of The Boys. Because the internet has split itself into two very loud, very annoying camps over this thing. Camp 1 says it's Stranger Things levels of bad because Homelander doesn't spend 8 episodes flying around lasering cities off the map. Camp 2 is on X, the everything app, everything's happening on X, writing serious literary analysis about a show where a man gets killed because Ant-Man sneezed inside his penis. Both of these people are wrong and both of them are exhausting. The truth lives somewhere in the middle. While its lack of a grand apocalyptic finale is disappointing, ultimately that isn't enough on its own to properly judge the quality. The reality is it's an uneven season, whose moments of brilliance are routinely undercut by poor pacing, profit-driven detours, production limitations, and an over-reliance on restoring the status quo.
We weren't even reacting to the shit that Trump pulls like we had in previous seasons. That was not what we were studying. We were studying countries that had authoritarian creep and what that looks like in its early stages. You know, that golden statue is a Saddam Hussein thing. That's where we got it from. And I think some fans I've seen are expecting like, oh, it should have been this apocalyptic, battle like deep into World War II or something. And that just, one, we can't afford that. But two, that's not the story I wanted to tell. I wanted to tell the story that like the fascist creep to we're building camps and we're moving people into camps. What's scary about it is it looks like the world you're in.
Eric Kripke has been pretty transparent about what he was going for. He wanted the final season to be this portrait of American democracy's last breath before fascism truly sets in, the infrastructure that enables it, the money that makes it possible, and the slow normalization of things that should be unacceptable. On paper, that's an amazing concept. It's timely, it's urgent, and if done well, it's the kind of thing that could have some real cultural impact. I just don't really know if that's what the end product actually was. And to be fair, there are moments this season where the story absolutely delivers on that promise. Those scenes of the focus group where Oh Father has all these psychics come in to read the minds of the people participating in the focus group is super smart economical writing. You can immediately read into the psychics as a blatant stand-in for our phones, social media, data harvesting, and algorithmic profiling. That's Homelander and, in real life, our tech bro corporate overlords trying to predict who might become a problem before they become one. I mean, that is just so sharp. That is peak Boys. That's The Boys doing what it does best. And the fact that this show predicted real elements of Trump's grotesque second term in real time gives season 5 this uncomfortable meta resonance that's really hard to dismiss. But then there are whole plot lines and scenes like this, and like this, and like this. I mean, there's just a bunch of them.
Everything they wanted us to be, everything they're working towards, they saw it in you. I fucking hated you for it.
So if we're taking Kripke at his word, then this is supposed to be a story about the rise of American fascism. Somebody needs to explain to me how any of this Vought Rising stuff serves that thesis. I've watched the entire season now all the way through twice, and I cannot find the connection, and I don't think you can either. It seems pretty clear to me that all of this Vought Rising bullshit was profit-driven over story-driven. Amazon Prime executives, or Eric Kripke, or both, have a raging boner for Jensen Ackles and clearly made a point post-season 3 to establish Soldier Boy as a major player in this universe. And look, don't get me wrong, I'm a Supernatural fanboy. More Jensen Ackles is a-okay with me. But execution also matters.
V1 was barbaric and unstable. Dr. Vaught's first test subjects at Dachau lived in a state of endless torment. He murdered thousands, only to achieve 5 successes.
Jesus.
This show just spends way too much of its final season shoving a Vought Rising-shaped piece into a boys-shaped hole. I'm just now hearing that. And yes, that sounded disturbing, but yes, I'm keeping it in because you know what I mean. This is supposed to be the last dance. Every minute should feel like it's paying something off or tightening the noose. Instead, whole sections feel like product placement for a show that does not exist yet at time of recording. The final season of Breaking Bad wasn't interrupted every 20 minutes to set up Better Call Saul. In its final hours, a show should be concluding, not quietly auditioning its next franchise. And for why that is, I'm gonna maybe start theorizing here a little bit. So just hold on and ride this out with me because there's always a chance I'm completely wrong, but hear me out. I think that the lack of focus on our core characters and the dumping of long established plot threads really makes it feel like right at the finish line, that the executive team prioritized keeping the universe alive and the money train moving over actually concluding this story. It's also come out since the show ended that Jensen Ackles was filming Countdown at the same time as he was filming this season of The Boys, which meant that production had to shoot this season out of order to work around his schedule, which is, not great.
Not cool!
To what extent that actually screwed things up hasn't been confirmed, and I don't know if it ever will, but I do think it could explain a lot of the off-putting inconsistencies that we see throughout this season. Just think about Black Noir's death, for example. How the fuck is the Deep able to kill him with some regular old microphone cord? We saw this guy eat a minigun last season, but apparently all you need is a kitchen knife, some copper wire, and determination. Even if the Deep was physically strong enough to strangle Noir, the cord itself and the knife should break against Noir's skin if the power scaling is even remotely consistent. I mean, a bunch of bullets bounced off of him. Also, did we all forget that this version of Noir can fly? Close your eyes and imagine with me for a second that the knife broke under Noir's chin and then a desperate little scuffle broke out, with the Deep trying to murder Noir using anything he can get his hands on. Deep has his back against the wall, he panics and he grabs as much microphone cord as he can and he wraps it around Noir's neck and tries to choke the life out of him, only for the cheap Vought-funded podcast equipment to rip immediately. In my head, this all eventually climaxes with the Deep winning by choking Noir to death with his actual hands, obviously still wrapped in those stupid gloves that he never takes off. And look, obviously, I'm not a TV writer, I don't know if that's any good, but to me it seems like it's a little funnier and it's also a bit more consistent with what we've seen from both characters while still subverting the usual TV cliche version of this scene. The end result stays the same, but the power scaling, entertainment value, and personal investment from the Deep are all drastically improved, and honestly, I don't think it's a stretch to assume that the reason something like that, or at the very least something more involved, didn't happen was production related. If you kind of look at all this from a production standpoint, it starts to feel like Jensen's schedule combined with the rest of the cast's already complicated availability forced the production team to wing it more often than not and rewrite things around where they were, who they had, and what sets were ready. Knowing what we know now, Noir's death really kind of feels like one of those situations where everyone on the crew was like, okay, we only have Chase Crawford for 2 more days before we have to pivot to all of Jensen's stuff. And the only Deep-related set we have built is this stupid podcast studio, and neither Chase or Nathan will be available after we come back. So Noir's death has to happen here, right now, on this set. And we can't really destroy it because we still have to backtrack and shoot episode 1 scenes here in a few weeks when everybody's back and around and Jensen's off doing Countdown. So I don't know, how do you kill someone in a podcast studio? I guess he chokes him with the microphone cord? I don't know. They can't break the table or anything. We only have one. And Nathan isn't available either, so we can't have Noir take off his mask. So I guess he's just gonna have to ADR everything later? I don't know, just fucking or something to that effect. Obviously, this is all personal headcanon. It's entirely possible that Noir's death was written and shot exactly as intended, but consider me unconvinced. There are a ton of moments throughout this season that feel rushed and awkward or slapped together, and I would bet my life that at least a few of them ended up that way because of how complicated the scheduling got. Again, I'm an idiot. I'm dumb, and none of us were there, so take all of this with a grain of salt. But anyone who knows anything about scheduling a production knows how massive the domino effect can be when one of your main actors can't be there consistently. God, Vought Rising better be fucking amazing to justify hijacking this much of the show that started it all. Also, to give some credit back to my sweet boy Jensen Ackles, I don't think that the Vought Rising backdoor piloting was the only thing that sunk this ship. Which brings me to what I think might be the single most damaging creative failure of the entire season. And it has a name. Butcher. It's like season 4 never happened, and it's very, very distracting. So much of season 4 was devoted to the war for Butcher's soul, with his darker side and the trauma of his past ultimately winning out and manifesting as those grotesque cancer tentacles. He turned into this cold, emotionless superhero murder machine, perfectly content with committing genocide if it means getting his own personal revenge, which I thought was pretty sick. By the finale, it felt like they'd earned it. Their version of Walter White was going full Heisenberg. I mean, that final shot left no ambiguity. There was nothing good left in this man. Season 4 isn't perfect, but at least for me, it all felt kind of worth it by the end because that heel turn was hard earned over those 8 episodes. And they walked that shit back almost immediately. It's actually fucking insane. I truly don't know what the reason is for the flip-flopping. Along with not being as well received or viewed as the previous season, Butcher had taken a fundamental turn away from what casual audiences had come to recognize him as, and my gut tells me that the executive team started to worry about their wallets. Some suit looked at season 4's engagement numbers, saw the online discourse being so polarized, and made the call. Bring Butcher back. People like Butcher. Never mind that it breaks 4 seasons of internal logic. Never mind that it discards an entire season's worth of buildup. The gravy train keeps chugging along and the status quo is the coal.
Posh Spice was easily the most shit-membered of squad. Could barely sing or dance, no discernible talent whatsoever. Wasn't even featured on Wannabe. But did that stop her? No. You look at her now, still married with Bex, 15 engagement rings, 32 Vogue covers, inducted by Prince William into the Order of the Bloody British Empire. Even I doubted her move into women's apparel, but her line is a staple at Paris fucking Fashion Week.
Here's what I keep returning to. Why build towards all of that if you were just going to quietly walk it all back? Why would they have Homelander lay out his violent, detailed takeover plan post Flight 37 video in season 3 if it was never going to be paid off? Those feel like intentional, deliberate, creative choices. I feel like in a world without executive pocket watching that they would have followed through on most of these. Maybe Kripke ultimately regretted what they did to Butcher's character and felt like they weren't going to be able to emotionally land the plane in the finale with this evil version of Butcher. Who knows? Whatever the cause, the result is a broken promise to the audience. And it's not just Butcher. All of the characters that make up the titular boys backslide into their old familiar status quo by the end of episode 1. Which is really unfortunate considering everything that's happened to them over the last 4 seasons. Now, I'm being a bit hyperbolic. There are obviously a few changes to the dynamic, like Starlight's cynicism and Kamiko's ability to speak. We'll get to that in a second. Oh my god.
16-hour flight and not a fucking peep.
Because all you can say is oi oi oi, cunt cunt cunt.
The only real silver lining is that this crew, frozen in amber or not, is still incredibly endearing and entertaining to watch. The core collection of actors and their respective characters are just so fun to spend time with that it unfortunately kind of retroactively proves Amazon right a teeny tiny bit for being afraid to change them. Just a little bit. And obviously I could just keep going and going because there's a bunch of other things that I really didn't like with this season, but if I break each one down in detail, we will be here forever, and I just don't have the time this summer to make a 5-hour breakdown like Friendly Space Ninja did for Stranger Things. So we're just gonna rapid fire through some other issues I had this season, and then to lighten the mood, some other things that I really did actually like from this season, because even though I've been dogging on it, there is still a lot to love here. To kick off my list of minor gripes, The pacing. After a genuinely strong opener with A-Train's death, the middle stretch slams the brakes so hard. Episodes 2 through 5 and most of episode 7 feel weirdly meandering for a show with 8 episodes left in its entire run. And I'm not trying to argue that because the show went in the political satire direction as opposed to the apocalypse arc direction, that's why it's slow. It's not slow because it's being satirical. The issue for me at least is just ratio. I wanted something closer to like 70% final epic fights and confrontations to 30% political commentary, and what we got often feels like 10% endgame stuff and 90% lampooning. Sometimes the satire here is funny, it's sharp, and it's painfully relevant, but when the runtime is this limited, every detour has a cost, and you feel that cost in some really important areas, like the character deaths. Some of the deaths we'll get to in a second fucking suck because of this, and some of them are fantastic. Like A-Train's death works beautifully. Having him die because he swerves out of the way to avoid a civilian is a fantastic full circle reversal of the pilot where he runs straight through Robin and set this whole thing off. That is clean, visual, thematic payoff, even though if you watch the two scenes side by side, the clear drop off in visual quality becomes really apparent, but that's a different conversation for a different time. But then compare that to Frenchie, a filmmaking problem more than a narrative problem. A beloved main character dies off screen. And we know they filmed it. I mean, look at this production photo of the costume with a very specific Homelander index finger kill. They designed it, planned it, and apparently they cut it. The result just feels so weird. You see him say that dancing line to Homelander, and then it cuts to Kimiko, and then he's crawling on the floor and we never see Homelander again. You can infer what happened, but it feels, I don't know what word works for this, but it just feels off. It results in a scene that just doesn't make me feel anything. I genuinely thought I accidentally sat on my remote and skipped forward 30 seconds, and I was so caught up in thinking that I had jumped forward and missed something that I didn't fully take in the moment. The editing literally ruined the flow of the story. And then there's the Gen V characters. I said it in my Gen V Season 2 review that there was no clean exit from this. Use these characters prominently and you steal screen time from your core cast in their final hours. Use them as window dressing and you've retroactively made an entire season of television completely pointless, and they chose option 2. What makes it especially rough is that Gen V Season 2 made specific story choices designed to set up for this crossover, and now those choices just have no payoff.
You must be Marie Moreau.
Something like that.
I'm MM. Heard that you're like the chosen one and have Homelander level strength or some shit.
Well, reports of my awesomeness have been greatly exaggerated.
Also, the whole show just looks worse. Season 1 had this incredible lived-in texture. Times Square, Vought Tower, A-Train's race, it just all had a bunch of ordinary people everywhere going about their lives completely unaware of what was happening around them. That quality, that sense that this universe existed beyond the edges of the frame is just largely gone now. The sets this season feel repetitive, empty, and weirdly lifeless. The White House set in the finale especially has this really hard to explain soundstage quality that undercuts the narrative stakes. I mean, I'm not the only one who thinks this either. It's no surprise to me that there's a lot of reminiscing online about what the show used to look like. I think it's pretty clear at this point that I could just go on and on and on about the stuff I didn't love this season. I could make a whole video about Kimiko and how she sounds weirdly ADR'd and she's this sex-crazed lunatic who forgot her own backstory, but I'm not going to. I could talk for an hour about how annoyed I got with these characters essentially looking the audience in the eye and lecturing everyone about incel culture and Trumpism, but I'm not going to. And I could do a whole breakdown video talking about how Kripke already made a better finale than this with higher stakes in Supernatural with a significantly smaller budget. But I won't. I'm just gonna leave all of that other stuff to different, more talented, smarter video essayists to tackle, because I just want to talk about the good stuff now, the fun stuff. It's not that bad. It's a good season. I just had some complaints. I still might do that Supernatural video though.
So if we kill him, we can stop worrying about being cops or gods or asexual weirdos. You know, we can go back to fucking and being fucking awesome.
I don't think it really needs to be said, but I'm gonna say it anyways. Anthony Starr was perfect in this role. It is truly criminal he never got an Emmy for this performance, and he is by far the best part of the show. We all know it. His take on Homelander is up there with Heath Ledger's Joker and Javier Bardem's Anton Chigurh for the best villain performances ever put on screen, in my humble opinion, and this season he doesn't miss a beat. His downfall, when the show finally fucking gets around to showing it, is everything we all hoped it would be. It's so good, in fact, that it makes me kind of angry at how rushed it all felt. Ultimately, I think they made the right choice with Homelander's downfall and eventual death. I just wish it didn't feel so rushed, considering that was the whole point of the fucking show.
Just tell me. I'll fucking suck your dick, please. I'll do anything. You want me to eat shit? I'll eat your fucking shit.
And I mean, what? Did you think I wasn't going to talk about the Supernatural reunion? I mean, come on, that shit was sick as fuck. For me, it was a clear highlight of the entire season and really brought me more joy than it probably should have. It was just so fucking cool to see Jared Padalecki, Misha Collins, and Jensen Ackles share the screen together again. I fucking adored every second of it. You know how in Deadpool and Wolverine, when Deadpool looks at the camera and says, "Get your special sock out, nerds"? That's how I felt watching episode 5. It was a truly magical experience for Supernatural fans and one of the best, most involved Easter eggs I've ever seen on TV. And it doesn't matter what version of Butcher we're getting. Carl Urban's performance as Billy Butcher is always incredible. Obviously, he was reverted back to a previous version inexplicably, which I already covered, but there's no denying how enjoyable he is to spend time with, retconned or not.
Welcome to the outskirts of Erie, Pennsylvania. A charming little burg, best known for its staggering amount of fentanyl overdoses.
His final scene with Huey was a high point of the season as well and felt elevated in comparison to everything else. Like, there's a lot that you can dig into and pick up on upon multiple rewatches. It's not surface level, and it's really, really, really good filmmaking and writing. Much better than some of the other stuff we see in the finale. Also, the firecracker-focused section of the season was really moving and well written. Of all the things the writers decided to spend their precious time critiquing this season, right-wing Christian grifters was by far the best choice. They were not only able to take a clear stance on the evils of her character, but also help you empathize with her as a human being. She's flawed, she's a monster, but she's also a person who sacrifices everything she believes in for this narcissistic man-baby who would never return even 1 ounce of that devotion. And she gets murdered for it. I mean, it's just so good. The writers really excelled at packing a shit ton of real-world parallels and deep thematic messaging into a pretty short amount of time when you look at it big picture, and it all really landed for me personally. I just wish that every detour in Season 5 was as good as this one was. Look, at the end of the day, The Boys did not need to end with Homelander glassing half of the planet to be good. A smaller, more character-focused ending can and has worked beautifully in the past. But if you are going smaller, there needs to be more intention and discipline. You need focus. You need every detour to deepen the thesis, every death to land, every character arc to feel like the consequence of what came before, and this season only does that sometimes. Sometimes it's brilliant.
But you're also the son of God, and you should not be sleeping in a barn.
Sometimes it's funny, sometimes it's genuinely moving, and sometimes it feels like wheel spinning with a story overstuffed with expectations, spin-offs, budgets, schedules, and the terrified corporate instinct to keep the toys in the box, saving them for later. Nobody sets out to make something bad. This show is the product of hundreds, thousands of absurdly talented people working under insane pressure. Simply saying season bad because no apocalypse does a massive disservice to the great work here. But pretending people upset with the final product are stupid entitled fanboys is also bullshit. What I wanted The Boys to be and what it actually is are two different things. And if I'm judging it for what it is, not the finale I built in my head, then what it is just okay. Occasionally brilliant, often compromised.